Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Great Malabite Ifeni.
Good morning, Ruben.
Great Malabite.
Yes, good morning.
What action do you have for us this morning?
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Victoria Tundu M.K. Abiola. It's a Friday.
Good morning.
And you are wearing
CGIF.
one of the spectrums of red. You call it orange.
Yes, red orange.
Okay.
Strictly speaking.
There's something happening about red. The ladies, you have to tell us what's happening. Well, you see that.
Okay.
Before long, you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
Okay.
I hope you don't have a red letter day over the weekend. Well, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Now, the lead story. Buhari, petrol subsidy eroding revenues available to fund budget. Presents 16.39 trillion appropriation bill to National Assembly. Says defense remains priority to finance deficit with fresh 5.01 trillion borrowings. Lawan flares high level of budget shortfall. Bajabia Miller assures of quick consideration of appropriation bill. APC, proposed spending will accelerate economic diversification. PDP, more pain, sufferings for Nigerians. Fiscal plan has high-sounding figures clothed with borrowings, says CUPP. Yes, President Muhammadu Buhari delivered the budget yesterday to the National Assembly for consideration. Of course, what is troubling many minds is the fresh 5.01 trillion naira borrowings. Because at the time, we're already spending 91% of our revenue to service debt. You wonder what the next government will do. But this is the last full budget President Buhari will implement, because the next budget for 2023 will be halfway into the year and he will leave office. But the budget is what it is, and many are complaining, but we have a budget. Timely, at least that is one legacy President Muhammadu Buhari will leave behind. Submitting his budget on time, getting it passed before the end of the year, and we have a budget cycle of January to December. But what has been the performance of the last budget? Bajabia Miller, who is assuring of quick consideration of the appropriation bill, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, he also said they will do due diligence on how monies released in the last budget was spent by the MDAs. Will they account properly before the quick passage, as he has promised? Left to be seen. But there are other stories on the front page of this day. Above the masthead, UK rules out quarantine for fully vaccinated travelers from Nigeria. No pre-departure test and quarantine. Rufai must be happy because he went on rooftop to shout, this is racism. And although we caution, not necessarily, but I think the criticism of people like Rufai and others was heard at the right quarters. The right calls must have been made. The prospect of reciprocity must have been hanging in the air, and the British authorities have done the needful. From Monday, October 11, Nigerians who are fully vaccinated cannot dust their passport and travel to the UK without going through all the rigmarole around the COVID and COVID tests here, around there, as well as quarantine. Well, I will dust my passport and look at the next available date before the end of the year. Rufai and Tundu, well, I'm sure you two will be thinking of traveling now with less of these ceremonies. Now, the Guardian newspaper also has the budget story as its lead story. Budget of growth raises doubts amid high debts, low incomes. Now, the Punch newspaper also has the same story. The 6.39 trillion budget funding, sell refineries, moribund assets, reduce deficit, economists, National Assembly tell Buhari, address insecurity, don't impose multiple taxes on manufacturers, ex-LCCIGG, block tax loopholes, impose levies on luxury goods, economists counsel the federal government. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, PDP neck, okay zoning of party chair to North. Atiku rejects decision, says it won't solve Nigeria's problem. Bugaje urges Nigerians to vote for competent, courageous leader in 2023. Yes, well, the decision of that Ogwai's committee as on zoning the chairmanship of the PDP to the North is something that, well, for this day, it signals a southern presidency is on the offing. But Atiku Abubakar, former vice president, went down memory lane, gave a long speech, and I don't think he's comfortable with that decision. But there's still another report to be considered, which says that the presidential candidate ticket should be thrown open to all to contest within the PDP. What the PDP will finally decide, left to be seen. But somebody was on this program narrowing his choice to two people on the APC side. Aliko Dangote and of course he mentioned Rochas Okorosha for creating statues that creating wealth. I couldn't figure out that name on the list. Now, if we just look at the Daily Trust newspaper, UK medication, Gbajabiamila governor's order spend millions to visit Tinubu. 265 million naira expended on trips. No, we funded it ourselves. Governors, lawmakers, politicians wasted public funds on Johnny, CSOs. Lagos governor unveiled pro-Tinubu group. Now, Daily Trust has done its own calculation. The amount that has been spent visiting Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu might take, if we had all the medical facilities in Lagos, all these visits would have been done at Bodilion Road, very close to my office. But this money has been spent when government officials started spending their personal funds. Well, that is what they are claiming, that they funded it themselves. But you can see, check the front page of the Daily Trust and you see all the faces that visited Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Asiwaju, as is popularly known in the UK. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly.
In the UK, not in Nigeria.
No, they visited him in the UK.
Oh, okay.
That's where he is now. That's where he's recuperating. But according to some of his supporters, he's not sick. He's only recuperating. Well, the Times of UK, PCR tests for travelers dished before half term. Now, cheaper lateral flow, checks expected to save families £200. So the cost of for families will fall by about £200. Now, the Daily Telegraph newspaper, flu deaths may reach 60,000, says expert. And healthcare chiefs have warned that lack of immunity means winter may see the worst influenza rates in 50 years. While the Wall Street Journal, Pfizer asks the FDA to allow shot for ages 5 to 11. Before long, that approval will come in weeks. Millions of children in America and around the world should be able to have the coronavirus vaccine available. Ruben Rufai.
Well, quickly, if any, we have just about 30 seconds to go, so there isn't time to make any long comment. Just to go back to the story we carried earlier about the Filipino-American journalist and also Dmitry Muratov, the Russian, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for this year. And I think that what the Nobel Prize Committee has done is to recognize the work of journalists, considering the fact also there were some other heavyweights in that list of 329 shortlisted persons for the Nobel Peace Prize for this year, including the activist, the climate change activist Greta Thunberg, the Committee for the Protection of Journalists, and other major institutions. But the committee, led by a woman, we saw her on the screen, thought it fit to give it to journalists. And I think that that will be a great inspiration, encouragement for all journalists across the world who are committed to the production of the freedom, to the promotion of the freedom of expression. However, one major issue that has come out of this year's Nobel Awards is the lack of diversity. Most of the winners are men. And people have been left wondering globally about why a committee that is led by a woman, dominated by women, will end up giving prizes to men. But I think with regard to the Nobel Peace Prize, whatever the politics may be, we should just stay at the level of merit, competence, and distinction. And for the second time, well, this may be for personal reasons, I say second time, because it's second time, a black African.
Yes.
The others that won it, they are not exactly classified as black Africans, has won the Nobel Prize in literature. Author of Afterlives, author of Paradise Issues, dealing with the effect of colonialism, in this specific regard, German colonialism, and the plight of refugees. And that's the Tanzania, Abdulrazak Guna, who has emerged with this oeuvre, not quite a large oeuvre, just 10 books and a number of short novels addressing issues that affect us as a common humanity. So congratulations to all the winners, and we hope that that will inspire other young persons, other writers, scholars, scientists, to excel
and
in their fields, and journalists also, who should be prepared to promote the freedom of expression, which is under assault.
Indeed, it really is, from left, right, and center. I have a pretty good idea of why the COVAX initiative didn't win it, though.
Yes, COVAX was on that list also, where there have been issues. But I think WHO and the United Nations is addressing that by calling out governments and manufacturing industries to provide support for both COVAX and Harvard. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Efe.